You ever have those things that you type it out? Either that you like pre-write it or you're like writing in the text message and you just like literally waiting to send. And then you're like thinking about the consequence. And then it becomes too high. The stakes become too high because you're like, oh shit. If I'm going to tell this person the things, and then maybe it'll be awkward. But if I don't say it, I'm going to implode. I kind of have the theories. We are all of our sadness are from some kind of regret of some kind of past being that like we never were able to fulfill. Maybe it's like the thinking part. It's the thinking part that actually drives us crazy. But then what is about this thinking part, right? Like what is about this thinking part? Like it's always about something about Shane, I think. Something about Shane and something kind of not being so appropriate. But here's what I really want to tell you. You should always tell people about the dirtiest thought that you have. Because I think like I think the older the culture, people tend to be behaving in a more appropriate way. Let's say it. There are definitely like different struggle that belongs in different time. When I do think about it, obviously I love the hippie movement very much. And I think all kind of like free-spirited people love hippie movement. But let's not forget what hippie movement also represent. They were anti-war. There was something really terrible that was happening in the 60s, right? Like the Vietnam War. And the hippie is not just about peace and love. They're also about taking to the street and actually protest for the freedom and the ideal world that they believe in. Not to go that far, but let me go a little far. But I'm just saying, we were fighting for a bigger idea, but it still starts from you and me. And I know that like there's so many weird things that's happening in the world. It all comes from lies. So is there any way that we can prevent from lying to each other? I mean, let's start from the most simple fact, right? Like, we all come from sex. Come on. We all come from sex. How are we still so scared to talk about sex? I think another funniest part about me is that I was always a very imaginative kid. I was not really the first one to have sex in like my childhood friend circle. I was kind of like the second or the third. But in my high school friend circle, I was definitely the first one to have sex. So I have this different rebellion point. I was really with a group of people that they're so in touch with their instinct because they don't really think otherwise, or they don't really restrain themselves, or because their parent kind of allowed themselves to be that way. And then when I got to high school, because there was like high school entrance exam, so there was a different bars of like the different kind of students that you will be in a company with, and I got into a better kind of public school. Public school is better in Taiwan than private school, by the way. You want to get into public school because public school usually means has more resources from the government and also better teachers. It's a very different system from US, whatever. So basically, recently I read a study about the happiness level. And I think for a long time, we always think about the liberal would be more happy versus some conservative that either is religious or whatever. So basically this study shows that like the liberal tend to be more unhappy than the conservative. And so let's talk about it now. And it's very logical. It's like the conservative, they have it all figured out, because they either have religion or they have this kind of right-wing perspective that like how the world works. which is like totally not relatable, not relatable to the rest of the world. Conservatives have it all figured out. Therefore, their life expectations are very, very safe. Therefore, their happiness level can be a little bit more than the liberal. The liberal, on the other hand, we're always encountering with what is new, what is futuristic, what is fresh. And so therefore there's always this pressure to kind of keep up to what is trending right now. So, you know, on one hand, the liberals are always encountering new things and adventurous things. But on another hand, when you are constantly being open, you not necessarily can really accept everything, right? So there's a portions of liberal that would be unhappy because they're not able to really be wide open and accept everything that is new and fresh. On another part, they're like a little bit sad, a little bit down, or like they may not be as open and free as they think they are. That will be where their unhappiness has come from. So this kind of totally contradict to like how we think, right? We always think the freer a person is, the more happy they are. But how free, right? How free is also the next question. And so there's another statistic that goes beyond. So like if you're a liberal and you are completely free, that's totally another level. So if you're free, if you consider yourself liberal, you have to be freer. And that freer part, huge portion comes from being more emotionally vulnerable, being more willing to expose yourself in that way, which is like not morally accepted kind of way, but maybe funny, you know. So here is this message. I like watching politics right now. This is kind of like my sports. Let's just all talk about that. Like, oh yeah, we're like all so worried about 2020. That 42% of Trump supporter is going to get Trump reelected. But yeah, we as liberals, we also don't 100% agree with Democrat. That's my ultimate point. The liberal, because we are free, and the free is like from the core of the planet to the universe, that wild, that vast, right? While the conservative, they may be just like a little playground where they set up the rules of like, if you run outside of that border, then no, you're not one of us, right? So let's talk about this between liberal and conservative. The conservative, they live in a little playground. They stop to grow. They don't need to grow because they're like, oh yeah, I have everything figured out. Really? While the liberals, you live from this space in the core of the earth to the outer space. You live in a much vast wild spectrums of being. But still, you gotta choose side, please, people. You gotta choose side. We can all agree on this two-party system is fucked up, right? This two-party system is fucked up because like they're still going to use shutting down the government as a fucking bait. But you gotta choose side. Because if you don't choose side, the fucking conservative, they fucking own the world. Because they think they really have it all figured out. I started with the point of no matter how they're going to prevent you from telling the truth will always come out. And for you to not say what you want to say is to basically belittle yourself. I know there's some things that are really, really hard to talk about and hard to say. But if you don't say it, you will not be as free as you think you are. The only way to live the life you want is really just to be honest. Honest at all time. Honest even when it's really, 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 really hard. Honest even when the whole world criticizes you. At the end of the day, everybody go to bed naked. It's you that you gotta have to deal with. And if you please the whole world and make yourself sad, don't do that. Don't do that. You know what? Say what you want to say. Let other people deal with it. Have that trust. Have that trust. Because if you're honest and you find out that these people don't like you, they're really not your friend. You can do without them. I guess that's my ultimate point. I like you. I love you for you. Don't ever be fake with me, okay? Good night. If you like my video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, leave a comment. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe for me, and I will see you next time.